None. None. Well, if we move it, you're going to get hit by the Commonwealth flag.
Get him something. He's been like.
And we're going to walk in the Powell County Parade, right? Like last. Y'all ready to rock and roll? Okay. So, Ethan, Michael, Bodie, McKenna, good? All right. Well, y'all, good morning, everyone. On behalf of Americans for Prosperity Kentucky, welcome. Today isn't just about policies or politics, it's about people. It's about unlocking the American dream for every Kentuckian. The truth is, and thinking about what today means in the One Big Beautiful Bill and what it means to be a Kentuckian, is that the history of Kentucky is the history of igniting the American dream. From our mountains to our river valleys, I've been blessed this past month to go from Harlan to Rowan County, to Paducah, to Lexington, to Georgetown, to Louisville, to Covington, and I've heard stories. And as y'all can hear, I'm from Powell County, and I'm an Eastern Kentuckian, and I'm a storyteller by nature. And from our mountains to our river valleys, Kentuckians have always turned hardship into hope and grit into greatness. Think of Janelle Brewer from Powell County, who turned pain into purpose. And out of her own pain, she built Spark Ministries, helping men and women in recovery to find a new life. That's Kentucky Resilience. Serving over how many counties, Janelle? Almost 120. Inspired by her daughter and everyone around. Think of Patrick Ray Duff, the son of coal miners who washed dishes to pay his way through school, then went on to invent a chemical e-coating then helped bring Toyota right here in Georgetown with a young Senate Majority Leader and Martha Lane Collins, where all e-coding in this part of the region is done in Clark County, Kentucky, and transferred to Georgetown. I then think of a young woman whose mom became superintendent of Floyd County Schools, worked her way at night at UPS, became a teacher, a tech innovator, and then now your state representative, Vanessa Grossel. These aren't just personal stories. They are part of Kentucky's legacy. Everyday people, everyday Kentuckians, like gathered here, people igniting extraordinary dreams. And that's why we're here, because the One Big Beautiful Bill carries that same spirit. It lowers costs for families, it gives small businesses room to grow, it makes sure hard work pays off again. It empowers the dreamers of today, just like Kentucky has always empowered the dreamers of yesterday and our future. So let's remember, Kentucky is more than a place on the map. It's a spark that fuels the American dream. It's now my honor to introduce the leader of our state chapter, a tireless advocate for Kentuckians everywhere, Heather Lemire, State Director for Americans for Prosperity Kentucky. And after Heather, we're privileged to welcome a champion for Kentucky families, someone who fights every day in Washington to keep the American dream alive, Kentucky's dream alive, Congressman Andy Barr. Together, and part of this discussion, let's keep igniting the American dream right here in the Commonwealth. Heather, are you ready to ignite us?
Good morning, everyone. Come on, y'all can do better than that. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate your words, and thank you all for being here. I know a lot of you would be at work right now, but you made time to come out here, and I so appreciate it. Just to tell you a little bit about Americans for Prosperity, we work on policy to better people's lives in the Commonwealth and really remove government barriers from your lives. And we also work on a federal level, trying to get really good policy passed as well. And the One Big Beautiful Bill is just one example of that. At Americans for Prosperity, we are a grassroots organization. That is our bread and butter. That is what we do best. And we spend a lot of time out in communities, knocking on doors and listening to families. And no matter where we are in Kentucky, we keep hearing the same thing. People are worried about the economy. They're worried about making ends meet, paying for groceries, putting gas in the tank, covering all the basics it takes to raise a family. And that's why the One Big Beautiful Bill matters so much. It's not about numbers on a page, it's about real life savings for families. On average, about $1,500 a year back in your pockets. And for so many Kentuckians, that makes a real difference. It means school supplies for kids as they go back to school. It means a little more room in the grocery budget, or just some peace of mind when bills come due. And I want to emphasize that it didn't happen easily. At AFP, we fought hard for this. Our grassroots volunteers, our staff, and our supporters across Kentucky and across the country worked tirelessly to make sure this relief became a reality. We were in the halls of Washington. We were at the doors talking to families. We were pushing every step of the way to make sure the voices of Kentucky were heard. But policy wins like this don't happen without champions in Congress. Congressman Andy Barr was one of those champions. He stood shoulder to shoulder with us. He pushed this bill across the finish line, and because of his leadership, Kentucky families are keeping more of what they earn. So today is more than just celebrating numbers on a page. It's about recognizing the impact this has on families and about saying thank you to a congressman who fought alongside us to make it possible. Please help me in welcoming Congressman Andy Barr.
Thank you so much, Heather. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with all of you all. I want to thank, first of all, Americans for Prosperity Kentucky, Heather and Michael. I appreciate your all's leadership and the organization, Americans for Prosperity, for all that you all do in promoting economic growth-oriented policies. And let me also thank Evans Orchard and Cider Mill for welcoming us here today. This is a great business, and want to thank Kevin and your family for opening up this business. I have to just say to Kevin Evans, and I talked to him earlier, that Evans Orchard is a bit of a Barr family tradition in the fall, as it is for so many families in central Kentucky. We gather up the kids typically after church on a Sunday in October, and we come out here and we have some cider, and we go buy our pumpkin for Halloween and have a great time. So it's personal to be here, and we really appreciate Kevin Evans and his family for opening up their business for this event today. I want to thank Judge Joe Pat Covington for being here. Thanks for your great leadership of Scott County. I want to thank Mayor Jenkins. Good to see you, Mayor, for your leadership of the city of Georgetown, which, as we were discussing, is booming and growing. Representative Grossel, great to see you. This is your House district, right? You're very fortunate to have such a beautiful district. Thanks to Georgetown Police for being here and providing our security today. And I saw former State Senator Ralph Alvarado. Ralph, good to see you here today as well. Well, look, we're here to celebrate a major policy win for the American people. We're here to talk about what Georgetown, Kentucky is all about: family, community, and the future of Kentucky. And we're here to talk about the success of the One Big Beautiful Bill and how it's delivering for Kentucky families. You know, there's a lot of debates in Washington about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, what really matters is whether policies are helping folks at the kitchen table. Can you afford your groceries? Can you keep more of your paycheck? Can you save for retirement and still take care of your family? And that's what this bill is all about. Over the last 4 years, we saw out-of-control spending from Washington, a war on Kentucky energy producers that led to the worst inflation crisis in a generation. Prices were up 20% over the last 4 years. Families struggled, businesses closed, and seniors were back to work out of necessity. But in 8 months, we are bringing our economy back. We've gone from energy desperate to energy dominant. We've secured our southern border, and we are growing our economy with the Big Beautiful Bill helping to lead the way. So here in Kentucky, here's what the Big Beautiful Bill means to you. A typical family of four is going to see $6,600 to $9,200 more in take-home pay thanks to the reforms in this bill. Wages are projected to rise another $3,000 to $5,400 in just the next 4 years because of the dynamic growth-producing effects of the legislation. That's obviously real money in your pocket. For workers, there's no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and I think that no tax on overtime provision is really jet fuel for the economy. It is a huge incentive for productivity, for work, for the dignity of work, and it's going to reward hard work for people who want to take that additional shift. It means more money for our hardworking waiters and waitresses, bartenders, Uber drivers, and the 25% of Kentuckians who regularly put in those extra hours to provide for their families. For seniors, about 800,000 seniors here in Kentucky, many of whom were the hardest hit by inflation because they live on fixed incomes, no more taxes on your Social Security benefits. You've worked your whole life, you've earned that retirement, and Washington shouldn't take another bite out of it. So the Big Beautiful Bill isn't just about supersizing paychecks, it's about creating them. Earlier this month, President Trump announced a historic $2.5 billion investment from Apple right here in the 6th District at the Corning-Harrodsburg manufacturing plant. This investment was spurred by the president's successful trade policies, but also an underreported provision in the One Big Beautiful Bill, a Made in America tax credit that means that all of the glass made for all iPhones and all Apple Watches all over the world will be made by Kentuckians at the corning plant right here in Mercer County, just south of here. This will result in a 50% increase in the workforce at the plant, which currently employs over 400 Kentuckians. And it's also about supply chain resiliency. Those jobs are coming back to the United States from China and other nations in Asia. We are decreasing our dangerous overdependence on manufacturing from foreign sources. And so without the One Big Beautiful Bill, economists estimate that over 84,000 Kentucky jobs would have been at risk. Instead, we've strengthened small businesses by extending deductions to 53,000 firms across the state. Again, I like to call this rocket fuel or jet fuel for the economy. And if you think about those small Main Street businesses across our Commonwealth, the engine of prosperity that Americans for Prosperity really fights for. What does this mean? It means the research and development deduction. It means 100% expensing, bonus depreciation. And they're pulling forward all of that CapEx. They're pulling forward all of that investment because of these tax benefits. And if you're a pass-through business, which most small businesses are in Kentucky and across this country, an S corporation or a limited liability company, guess what? Not only are we making the deduction permanent in the One Big Beautiful Bill, we're expanding it to 23%. So this is a big tax cut for the job creators of this country, the small Main Street businesses like Evans Orchard that employs a lot of people in our community. So whether you're a working mom or dad, a retiree, someone who's taken the overtime shift at Toyota, or a small business owner like the Evans family right here in Georgetown, the Big Beautiful Bill is working for you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for what you do for our communities, and may God bless Kentucky and the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Barr. And something that we are going to do here, whether you want to call this a town hall or a legislative forum, we're here to celebrate the Kentucky economy and take questions from everyone. And I think that we have submitted questions as well. We'll also be playing a bit of a game, right, Heather? So we'll be guessing how much groceries are. We'll be doing drawings, and we do have gift cards for those who win. We will be mailing you your gift cards. We promise we have them. We put them in a bag, and everything always has blips, but we will get them to you, right? We will. So we're going to rock and roll with this, and including doing raffles as well. So Alyssa, if I can get my handy-dandy colleague come up. All right. So Congressman, we can have you up here, please.
Thank you.
Okay. First question. What would have happened if we failed to pass the Big Beautiful Bill?
Well, first of all, you know, $1 trillion, a trillion is a hard number to comprehend, but had we done nothing, had the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act been allowed to expire at the end of this year, the American people were facing a $4.5 trillion tax increase. Now, what does that mean to Kentucky specifically? The Council on Economic Advisors estimated that the One Big Beautiful Bill, because we passed it and because we prevented the expiration of those tax cuts, protected about 84,000 full-time equivalent jobs in Kentucky over the next 4 years, relative to if the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act had been allowed to expire. It is estimated that because we passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, that there will be 7 million additional jobs added to the economy over the next few years. So it's night and day what would have happened if we had failed to accomplish this massive victory for the American people. And thank goodness we had the leadership of President Trump and this Congress to get the job done.
And y'all, I remembered to bring the breakfast, but I forgot the gift cards. That was on me, so we'll mail them out. So next question is that I know that we have Leandra Knox with the Kentucky Rural Health Association, right? So can you tell us how the Big Beautiful Bill helps sustain Medicaid and also hospital funding?
Yeah, a lot of conversation about the healthcare provisions in the bill. A lot of people talk about how this was a piece of legislation that was a massive tax cut. It was also a major spending reform bill, $1.6 trillion in reform of spending, of reductions in waste, fraud, and abuse in a lot of different areas. There are some static scores of the bill that are just flat out wrong that estimate that this would actually add to the deficit. That is inaccurate. That's not true. This bill is, because it's jet fuel for the economy, it's going to lift the economy so much that it's going to produce a lot of revenue because more people are going to be working. 7 million additional jobs, that's 7 million additional taxpayers that some of these static scores don't take into account. And when you think about the national debt and the deficit, we will never balance the budget, ever. We will never balance the budget. We will never get our fiscal house in order if we don't produce massive economic growth. We need to grow our economy so fast that what we owe as a country starts to shrink relative to the overall size of the economy. So 2 ways to get at the debt crisis in our country, the $37 trillion national debt that threatens to bankrupt our country, bankrupt our children's futures. Number 1 is, of course, fiscal discipline, spending constraint. But the second is economic growth. This bill does both, spending constraint and economic growth. The tax provisions are really about growth, but let me talk about the question that Michael asked about the spending constraint. On the Medicaid side of things, we do 3 major things to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, to strengthen Medicaid, which is an important safety net program for our people. And I will add that this is very, very important to an organization like Spark, an organization that provides important addiction recovery services. Medicaid's very, very important to Kentucky Addiction Recovery Services. We want to make sure Medicaid is a strong program for people who need addiction recovery services, moms and kids who need that safety net health care, people who are struggling in poverty, dual eligible elderly, and of course the disabled. These are our fellow Kentuckians who need a strong Medicaid program. But Medicaid, before the One Big Beautiful Bill, was at risk. The reason why it was at risk was because it was unsustainable. And to a certain extent, there still are some solvency questions about Medicaid because it's the fastest growing mandatory spending program. Mandatory spending programs include Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, some veterans programs. Medicaid was the fastest growing Medicaid program. Now, there are some critics of our bill who wrongly say that we cut Medicaid. Wrong. With the One Big Beautiful Bill in place, Medicaid continues to grow at 20%. This is not a cut, but it does slow the growth of Medicaid, and it makes it more sustainable over the long run because it targets waste, fraud, and abuse. What are those areas of waste, fraud, and abuse that we target in the legislation? One is we make sure that people who are not eligible for Medicaid don't take resources away from the people who actually need Medicaid. So if you're enrolled in multiple states, if you're a fraudster, if you're not eligible because you have assets over $1 million, but you may not have income and you're unjustifiably enrolled in the program, we take you out of the program because you don't need Medicaid. You've got plenty of assets. So that's number 1, the ineligible. We take the ineligible off of the Medicaid rolls. Number 2, illegals. We don't think that illegal immigrants should be taking scarce resources away from American citizens. And so we, in this legislation, make sure that we have eligibility requirements to ensure the integrity of this program so that illegal immigrants do not take Medicaid away from the people, the American citizens who need it. And third are the able-bodied. We make sure that Medicaid stays for the people who actually need it, the indigent, the dual eligible elderly, the disabled. And so for the 4.5 million Americans who currently are able-bodied, work-capable adults who have no dependents, we simply say to them, look, 20 hours of work, 20 hours of job training, or 20 hours of some kind of volunteer participation in the community. This is not a strenuous requirement in order to maintain your Medicaid benefits. It just simply says we want you to be healthy by participating in the economy. You either need to be training for a job, you need to be in a job for only 20 hours a week, or you need to be volunteering in the community. This is not a strenuous requirement, but we think this is a way to target Medicaid for the people who need it.
Y'all, we believe in free speech too. Free speech is a beautiful thing. Right, Congressman?
Absolutely.
All right.
You have the freedom to be wrong.
Absolutely. So, next question, and I'm actually really curious about this, is that what is an underreported benefit of this bill for working families? There's the question.
Well, I think one of the things that's really important is we expand the child tax credit. So if you have kids, and I've got a few of them, you get an expanded child tax credit. We make it permanent. You get an expanded child tax credit. We increase the standard deduction. So again, for middle income families who depend on that standard deduction, this is a tax cut for working families with kids. That is a big deal. Again, I think this provision of no tax on tips, no tax on overtime is absolutely huge. You know, when you go get your hair cut, think of your hairdresser or your barber. Think of how hard they work. Think of them and the fact that when you tip them, when you tip them, they don't have to pay taxes on that. When you go to the restaurant and you give your server a tip, they're not going to have to pay taxes on that tip. That is a huge deal for those working families. Same thing with overtime. Think of our law enforcement. These brave men who wear the blue, who protect our communities. First responders are some of the most underpaid, overworked people in our communities. And why on earth would any of my colleagues, or anyone for that matter, the gentleman here, run out of this room and protest legislation that gives these men in uniform a tax cut for their overtime? Why would you object to that? That makes no sense to me. I am very proud to have supported a tax cut for our first responders so that then when they work the overtime shift, when they work the third shift from 8 p.m. until 6 in the morning, that they don't have to pay taxes on the income that they earn. That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
I have a feeling I know who wrote this question, and you sort of did touch base on this. It's no secret of my story and my mom struggling with rehabilitation, and I was one of the kids, one of 4 kids that was forgotten about in Eastern Kentucky, who had a parent in jail, mom struggling with chemical dependency. So can you talk about, and I think this question comes from our good friends from Spark, how does the One Big Beautiful Bill help rehabilitation services here in Kentucky?
Well, I'll tell you, again, when we shore up Medicaid for the people who actually need it, by the way, important point that I didn't make about Medicaid services, healthcare services, specifically for addiction recovery, that was specifically identified in the One Big Beautiful Bill as a part of Medicaid that we specifically protect. And so Spark, and to the extent your residents and the people that you're helping depend on Medicaid and those behavioral health services for addiction recovery services, we specifically protect that in our Medicaid reforms. And so again, what we're doing is we're refocusing Medicaid on the people who need it. And we're making sure that the people who are not eligible, are able-bodied or illegal, are not taking those scarce resources away from the people who desperately need it.
I'm going to combine 2 questions because I think it's important to ask. Both are. I am newly retired and worried about making ends meet since my income has decreased. How does the One Big Beautiful Bill help me, and when does the tax cuts in the bill go into effect?
So the question is about retirees? Well, so if you're a retiree who has income, obviously the tax cuts would impact you, but also the Social Security reforms. So specifically, let me repeat what I said before on Social Security. So for about, it's estimated to be about 800,000 seniors, 800,000 seniors in Kentucky. No more taxes on Social Security benefits. Let me say something about Social Security, because Social Security used to provide pretty good replacement income for people from their working years. Not the case anymore. Because of inflation over the years, Social Security only replaces around a quarter on average of people's income. So in order for people to truly maintain and sustain their quality of life from when they were working to when they retire, there has to be additional income or additional retirement benefits that supplement Social Security. By decreasing the tax liability on 800,000 of the more lower income Kentuckians on their Social Security benefits, we're helping push up the replacement income for those seniors. Now, we need policies in Washington that will continue to encourage savings. We have a personal savings crisis in this country to supplement Social Security so that people, retirees, don't live in poverty. But this is a huge help for seniors.
Y'all, I think that we got the germane issues all combined in all these questions. So, Alyssa, I think we're ready for our first raffle, right? All right. We'll save the big one for last, right, Heather? All right. Congressman, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
And we'll let Heather do the first. Heather or Alyssa, come up here and do the first honor.
I want to do it.
Alyssa, you can do it.
All right, get your tickets out. And I'm only going to let you win if you give me a nice celebration. So if you don't celebrate and like stand up and run around, putting your ticket back in. All right. First one. 80900098.
Yes!
We'll have everyone come up at the end.
Yeah. I did not do that on purpose.
We know you rigged it for your dad.
That is my dad, but I swear I did not do that. I promise. I literally could not make that up. Okay. 80901117.
Whoa! Hey!
We're going to have everybody come up at the end.
Oh, I think.
We're going to have everyone come up at the end.
Okay.
Sorry. But you can still
You can still
be
celebrate.
excited.
That was good though.
Right.
All right. 809013.
Fantastic.
Are they all 809? 80900102. 10, right? 10?
And these are all for $100 gift cards to Evans Orchard.
All right. 80900124. Yay! 80901114. Yay! You said everything.
Actually, we're going to, is that 6?
Yeah.
We're going
Let
to
me see.
do the last 4. If you are willing to take a picture over here with the sign, or if you're willing to make a quick video about what $1,500 in tax savings can do for you this year. We just want to create as many videos as possible. And so if you're willing to go over there and take a picture or make a quick video, you get a $100 gift card, the first 4 people. So, yeah. Do you want to go ahead and draw for the big one?
The big one?
Yeah,
This
so
is it.
you all
The winning
guess
number.
on how much this basket from Evans Orchard is worth and who's the winner.
Patty Harmon. And the correct number, 51, the correct price.
$51.24.
She guessed 50, so she was right on it. And now Michael. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, as Kentuckians from Paducah to Pikeville, we know our problems. We know what's going on. We know our healthcare disparities, but we also know our perseverance, our conviction, and our passion. And it's because of everyone here, local leaders that we see here, is the reason why Americans for Prosperity believes that those who are there on the ground, people in their local communities, working with good government, good congressmen like Andy Barr, this is how we solve problems together. And it's not speculation. It's not just a thought. It's not a hypothetical. It's not a whim. It's our history. It's our history as Kentuckians. And I'm so proud to have a congressman here as a resident in Powell County that believes in that history, believes in the American dream, and believes in empowering everybody here in the Commonwealth. So, folks, thank you so much, and God bless you all. God bless the Commonwealth, and God bless the United States. Stay around, keep your breakfast, and Congressman Barr will be available for questions from the press over here at our press bowl. Thank you all.